And hey there, welcome to space. Welcome to the Daily Space Weather. I'm your host, Dan, aka Smash-O-Mash, coming at ya from the Smash News Network, least busted name in news. Don't mind us, just bringing you the most detailed imagery of the closest star and comprehensive space weather you'll find in the known universe. First thing we're looking at here is the last 24 hours. From SDO 304 angstroms, you may see a coronal mass ejection coming from this active region down here. Is it earthly directed? We'll let you know later in the video. There's a huge filamentary fest going on in another new large and magnetically complex sunspot group just risen in the northeast, following the rising of one in the southeast. So we are also seeing a high likelihood of large flares in the northeast, southeast, and northwest corners. Like I said, there's a filamentary fest going on, and you may see those huge dark absorption features there. Those are plasma filaments, and those have a tendency to become coronal mass ejections, which can do things like cause power outages on planet Earth. You can see this one getting a little bit unstable, as we cited in yesterday's video. And let's add 193 angstroms to the ionized helium here to show some extended coronal features as well as additional contrast on those massive plasma filaments like this one right here that appear as a dark absorption feature there in the sun's atmosphere, known as the solar corona. So there's the north polar region. You can see huge plasma filaments around there. There is certainly plenty of material to turn into solar storms, coronal mass ejections, whatever you'd like to call them. Again, we have a high likelihood of solar flares both in the east and western limbs now, because we've got a large series of sunspots right here which is setting, a newly active region down here which is setting, and two new large sunspot groups just risen in the east. Here's the south polar region. You can see a crown prominence hanging out down here, huge filament instability here, coronal holes visible here. Again, high likelihood of large flares in both the eastern and western limbs at the moment. Some pretty sweet imagery indeed. And here's a close-up of one of those gigantic plasma filaments. You can see that one moving around, and other plasma slightly to the west of it. East would be on the left side of your picture there, and west would be on the right side. By the way, thanks to our new viewers, thanks to our new subscribers, those who've pressed like, share, etc. Thanks for tuning in to the most detailed solar imagery you'll find in the known universe. All right, so let's get back to some stats here. We'll have a small uptick in sunspot number today, as this group up here will get a name. That'll be 3211, I think. I don't get hung up. 3311. I'm not going to get hung up on the names. Besides that, most of these groups are stable over the past 24 hours. We do have some growth with this near equatorial group right here. Besides that, not a lot of changes happening. It should be real evident in the colorized magnetogram also. So there is a new solar flare player, that sunspot right in the almost right in the center of the Earth-facing solar disk here. Let's see what's going on planet Earth. Great photo there of Semipochnoi volcano there on the Kamchatka Peninsula. Let's see what's erupting. Sakurajima is erupting and producing a unknown size volcanic ash plume. Please do not fly your hang glider, ultralight helicopter, or airplane over Sakurajima. Semeru exploding, flight level 150. It's a 15,000-foot ash plume over East Java. And Semipochnoi has had its alert level lowered to yellow. So yellow alert level there at Semipochnoi. Popocatépetl exploding, flight level 220 over central Mexico. Cerro Bravo in Colombia now showing some gas and steam emissions. Also, sulfur dioxide and carbon dioxide emissions and temperatures continue to be detected in the affected area. Cerro Bravo perhaps preparing to erupt. Let us know in the comments what you think. And last but not least, Sabancaya also exploding, flight level 240. It's a 24,000-foot ash plume over Peru. as Sabancaya explodes. Next, looking at seismic activity, and there was one large quake in the past 24 hours. It was a, there's your 90-day bar graph. It was a 6.4 at Guatemala. There is a location of that in the hills of Guatemala there. Doesn't look like a super populated region. Let us know if you have insight into the population density of that area. Again, that's a 6.4 magnitude quake. We got alerts about it, and we didn't send alerts to the SMASH team because, well, there's no likelihood of a tsunami as it occurred over land. So we do send out email alerts to the SMASH team. More on that later in the video. So anyway, there's that 6.4 magnitude quake that occurred in Guatemala. And let's see what else happened in the past 24 hours. We'll be citing quakes of a 5 magnitude or higher. It doesn't look like very many at all. Only one large quake in the past 24 hours. That 6.4 at Guatemala came in at 23:02 yesterday evening, 58 minutes before midnight Universal Time. No apparent aftershocks there. Let us know if you think that quake might be a foreshock. If that's a foreshock, that could be very unfortunate. There you go, only one quake over a 5 magnitude, and it was a 6.4. And let's get back to space. Here's some spectacular imagery for you, and thanks for leaving a comment, Mr. Katowski. Here's the past 24 hours in STO 171 plus 211 angstroms, and a quick reminder that these sunspot groups are becoming increasingly likely to produce large flares. So don't be surprised to see an M or even an X-class flare from up there in the northwestern limb. This group down here is capable of producing large flares, as it is right near the southeastern limb. Also, this group up here is capable of producing large flares in the northeastern limb. Those are the 3 most likely places to see an M or X-class flare in the coming days. Solar flare watch is certainly in effect. And let's continue on to talk about some more stats. The 10.7 centimeter radio flux now at 134 solar flux units. That radio emission is proportional to sunspot number, as you may be able to see in this 1-year graph. The red line is the sunspot number, the black line is the 10.7 centimeter radio flux emitted from the upper chromosphere and lower corona. Here's a space weather enthusiast dashboard, and NOAA forecasting a small increase in plasma density tomorrow on the 19th. That is the arrival of a weak coronal hole high-speed stream, and I don't really disagree with that. I think that's a legit forecast. Besides that, no major space weather in the offing. In fact, that's not major space weather either. So pretty calm conditions here, and we're expecting those to continue. No solar storms headed our way at the moment. NOAA agrees, space weather enthusiast dashboard not depicting any space weather coming. And let me correct myself here. The 10.7 centimeter radio flux now came up a little bit to 138 with the rising of those new sunspots. NASA also not detecting any CME impacts. We'll show you the CMEs. They are just essentially a lovely light show. Not expected to be earthly directed. And thanks again for leaving comments, Mr. Katowski. By the way, if you enjoy the content, help us continue the probability these videos will continue to exist and remain publicly visible and free for all to view. Help us out by visiting our links via smashomash.com. You'll find all kinds of links to us on social media and more. And by the way, once again, thanks for tuning into the Smash News Network, least busted name in news. If you think I'm a fanatic, it's true, and it's about one thing. Yeah, I'm a fan of one thing, folks. Facts. The truth is out there, and a lot of science is weirder than fiction. By the way, one of our links that you can find is our paid affiliate / sponsor, Hemp Lucid. So check out that link right there on the home page. Right there above my head, right? Yeah, right there. Click that link, Hemp Lucid. That'll link you to the Hemp Lucid shop, or you can save some cash by using the promo code SMASHOMASH on checkout. Save 10% that way. Shop via our link. Help the channel that way by purchasing your CBDs, mushroom gummies, immune stacks, body balms, and more. Even pet CBDs available there at the Hemp Lucid shop. Thanks to everybody who's picked up products from Hemp Lucid. We do not endorse products that we do not use ourselves. Next, looking at Earth's magnetic moment from space for the past 4 hours. Our geospace magnetosphere movie showing very low magnetohydrodynamic pressure around planet Earth. It's a result of a sputtering and very low density solar wind, which we'll cover here momentarily. Again, this is the past 4 hours of Earth's magnetic moment from space. It is a very low pressure environment out to about 12 Earth diameters, approximately the size of Earth's magnetosphere. Here's Earth's magnetic moment from the ground. And again, very calm conditions here, mainly as a result of very low solar wind density. The space weather modeling framework uses many different variables to depict Earth's magnetic moment from the ground in nanotesla, which is what's being shown here on our ground magnetic perturbations map. Planetary K-index, an average of global geomagnetism, is currently at 0.66. 666666666 ... It's a repeating decimal. Yeah, 2/3. 0.67 to round it to the nearest hundredth of a KP index unit. What is the unit? Is it just an arbitrary unit? Who knows? Who knows if it's a unit? It's just an index. Anyway, let's move to the real-time solar wind next. And current conditions are solar wind speed here just over 420 kilometers per second. Solar wind density here showing up below 1 proton per cubic centimeter, 0.76. That is a very diffuse solar wind to the point where it's showing up as errors. The last more reasonable signal we've seen there was like 4.5 protons per cubic centimeter. The most recent signal there showing up at more like half a proton per cubic centimeter. That is very diffuse indeed. Keep in mind the real-time solar wind is measured at Lagrangian point 1, a million miles, toward the sun at the gravitational equilibrium point, Lagrange 1. Next, GOES magnetometers here smooth over the past 3 days. No surprises there. No space weather has been showing up. And let's take a look at the heliospheric current sheet next. So this is the top view ecliptic plane field plot. Earth is moving right toward the center of a south pole oriented current sheet. No changes expected anytime soon there. South pole current sheet is the current situation. Next, our line of sight field plot. This depicts the solar polar fields in green for north, red for south, solar B field in blue. That is essentially the net field of those two polar fields. And then you've got the gong magnetogram in grayscale. Lots of magnetic activity on the Earth-facing portion of the solar disk and huge plasma filaments, which we'll show you even more information on later in the video. Next, we're going to go to coronal holes. And here's the coronal hole line of sight plot. And we've got major South Pole-oriented coronal holes here rotating in from the east. So South Pole current sheet has been a lot more exciting than the North Pole current sheet because, well, we're still waiting for the North coronal hole systems to leave the North heliographic pole. Anyway, there's the latest image. There is yesterday plus today. And again, those are all South Pole-oriented coronal holes. This one right here will be quite geo-effective. We can expect possibly some aurora to be sparked from that. It is a very well-defined coronal hole, as you can see from that image right there. And it should become perhaps even more well-defined in the coming days. Next, let's move to sunspots. 3311 is going to be the name of this new group up here. It is large and quite magnetically complex. In fact, I think it's more magnetically complex than 3310. So we may be expecting to see some major fireworks from 3311. And let's take a look at the SDO continuum for the past 24 hours. Little interesting umbral migration here from 3307. 3310 mostly stable, 3311 brand new. By the way, we sent an email alert to the Smash team about that this morning, as that does raise the probability of large solar flares. Next, we're going to go to energetic particles and solar flares. Coincidentally. Just kidding, folks. That's not a coincidence. So there's our ghost proton flux, and it's come off the floor a little bit as a result of a large impulsive M-class flare late in the day on the 16th. That should subside pretty soon here. It's a pretty weak solar energetic particle event. And as far as flaring goes, another large flare here happening while we stream the program. So there you go. A flare happening now. Not sure if it's leveled off yet. Let's bring up the 6 hour. And it looks like it has leveled off. Peak flux here was M2.22. It was a 2.22 M-class flare. An M2.22 class flare. And let's take a look at the last 24 hours here. So we've brought up 171 plus 131 angstroms. And let's actually swap out. I think that flare might have come from this new group up here, 3311. So we'll assure you of that here in a moment. First, 94 plus 131 angstroms. We've swapped out 94 for 171. And here's a little closer view. A zoom in on the solar equator. Pretty sweet imagery, wouldn't you say? And by the way, we've got a cosmic ray report coming today. You may be surprised to see what's showing up in the cosmic ray data, or it may be elementary for you. And let us know in the comments what you think. All right, so next we'll go to a star chart. If you are up before dawn, you may see Saturn, Jupiter, and Mercury there. Also a tiny sliver moon right on the ecliptic, rising just ahead of the sun. Also the Pleiades showing up there. And we've been seeing them on the coronagraphs, which we'll get to here momentarily. First, a solar system forecast and a cosmic ray update. So there's where things are now. And let's do your heavenly bodies forecast. This is things... Let me refresh that. This is things today on May 18th. And here's your 1 week forecast. Got a new moon coming up in like 2 days. That's where things will be on the 25th. We will have a crescent waning moon as Mercury breaks ranks with terrestrial planets and goes over to join the gas giants. Next, our cosmic ray report. Yeah, our cosmic ray report. And we're starting out with the Apatity Neutron Monitor here. So, Apatity Neutron Monitor showing an uptick in cosmic ray flux over the past 30 days. Check it out. That is an uptick. Do I really have to draw the line? I mean, there it is. Despite those two large decreases caused by CME impacts and solar energetic particle events, cosmic ray flux up over the past 30 days at Apatity Neutron Monitor. How about Barentsburg? At Barentsburg, flat over the past 30 days. Let's go way down south from Apatity and Barentsburg to Athens, Greece. There is the Athens Neutron Monitor. And let's just ignore this huge missing piece of data here and just start from the baseline. An uptick at Athens, Greece as well for the past 30 days. So that's two cosmic ray monitors with upticks. Mexico City also showing a tiny uptick in cosmic ray flux. You may have been expecting this to come down. If you are a regular viewer of the channel, you may be aware of the fact that cosmic ray flux is inversely proportional to solar activity. And there you go. It's, well, I'm not going to reveal too much about it, but that's the situation. Slight uptick in cosmic ray flux at Mexico City. And let's look at Oulu, Finland. So there's the Oulu Neutron Monitor. Flat over the past 30 days at Oulu. I find this interesting. And let's go as far south as we can get to Antarctica. So there's DOMB Antarctica, showing a tiny downtick in the past 30. No, it's a tiny. Well, it's flat. We'll say that's flat over the past 30 days. DOMC Antarctica also flat over the past 30 days. One other thing I would notice is that you may have noticed that people back around 2017, 2018, 2019, 2020 kept saying that Earth is at the cosmic ray maximum ever. And it's just completely untrue. I would also note this huge dip in cosmic ray flux since then. A lot of people who are alarmist hacks about cosmology kept saying that cosmic ray flux is just going to keep going up forever and we're all going to die because of it. Consumer tip, cosmic ray flux was higher in 2009 and 2010 than it ever got at the solar minimum of solar cycle 24 to 25 transition. Solar cycle 23 to 24 transition featured higher cosmic ray flux, a colder thermosphere, less sunspots, lower radio flux, etc. So that's just yet another nail in the coffin of the grand solar minimum nonsense. Notice how these levels never reached the levels that they reached here. Why? Because people were misrepresenting cosmic ray flux to frighten their viewers into purchasing bunkers in Colorado. All right. Continuing on to our coronagraphs. So there is yesterday's coronagraph imagery from George Mason University. That's 103 frames. There may be some halo-looking eruptions there. I don't suspect those are earthly directed, but we'll do the analysis right here for you on this video. It's part of the purpose of the channel to provide facts, objective ones, about space weather. Here are today's frames, an additional 39 frames there from GMU, George Mason University. And here are our LASCO coronagraphs. The C3 there on the right. All right, so let's see what's going on here. You can see some CMEs there. We've shown the SDO 193 angstroms wavelength along with the SOHO LASCO C2 and C3 all at once. We'll get a little bit closer here. Let's get a little bit closer yet. Do we see any plasma reorienting as those CMEs happen? And well, the answer is some. So that the largest CME did come from this region down here, and you can see a lot of plasma splashing back down toward the solar chromosphere. If that does have an earthly directed component, it will be very minor and nothing more than a glancing blow, unlikely to cause any major geomagnetic storms, maybe a brief period of KP 5 or 6, depending on magnetic field intensity, but I don't suspect that that is earthly directed. It is quite far off to the southwestern limb there. And here's just 193 angstroms by itself. Keep your eyes on this region right down here. That is where that CME will come from, right there. And again, we don't really see any indications that that will be a major Earth-directed CME. If so, it'll be a minor impact, if any. I would say if I had to bet, and I certainly don't, that I would expect it to miss Earth entirely. We'll show some additional coronagraphs here as well. We're going to show the stereo A coronagraph along with SOHO LASCO C3 again, just to make sure that we don't have any missing data. Occasionally the feeds have sections of data that's not available there, and sometimes stereo A will have data sets that the LASCO coronagraphs lack. At the moment, no missing data. And let's move on to filaments. So we've got massive filaments. I mean, check out the filaments, folks. It is a filament fest. This is the Udaipur, India ground-based hydrogen alpha telescope. And yeah, that is, look at the size of these filaments. We've been naming them after living people, by the way. This one's got a name. If you want to know what it's called, join us on Twitter. Follow the hashtag #NameThatFilament. By the way, once again, thanks to our new subscribers and those who've been viewing the content on YouTube. Huge filaments up here in the northeast. Huge filaments in the north central region. Huge filaments in the southwest. Huge filaments at the heliographic polar region. It's filaments, 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 like we said earlier in the video. And here are the past couple of hours. Goes 16 SUVI, and here's that flare. That M2.22 flare indeed did come from this new region here. Sunspot 3311 there, producing a flare while we do the stream. Is it luck? Is it divine providence? Is the sun conscious? Let us know what you think in the comments. If you've got comments to leave directly for El Sol, leave them in our comments. We've been told that the sun watches our videos. Anyway, moving on to the latest bonus features in the form of satellite charging hazards. Do we have any? No. It's clear sailing for satellites. If you want to follow charging hazards yourself, tune into the Satellites Community Dashboard, one of the many features of the Space Weather Prediction Center. What's great about all these Space Weather Prediction Center pages is you can find links to all the other ones right down at the bottom. Next, looking at the GOES electron flux here, and we're just in a low operating range. Nothing to write home about there. Here is the one-year graph to put it in context from Solon.info. Those relativistic electrons are measured at the F layer of the ionosphere. Here's the forecast model for it. That looks pretty accurate to me. That's the forecast by NOAA. No arguments about that forecast. Let's take a look at the vibrational frequency of the F layer of the ionosphere, which is also settling down. Not particularly anomalous, but we make sure we show the run every day on the channel. One of the many data archiving aspects of this channel are that if you want to see what the ionosphere was doing like 3 years ago on this date, you can view it via our Space Weather Videos playlist. Anyway, that's what's going on at about 300 kilometers of altitude, the location of the F layer of the ionosphere. And we showed you raw vibrational frequency. Here is the anomalogram depicting anomaly in megahertz from a 30-day median. Things are looking pretty normal in the ionosphere. Oh, some big low-frequency anomalies there actually happening in the southern hemisphere. So those are quite anomalous there. You see those big red blobs happening in the southern Indian Ocean, Southern Ocean, around Oceania. Those are indeed anomalous ionospheric low-frequency zones. So wasn't expecting that. We'll let that play through one more time. Major low-frequency anomalies happening here south of the equator. We'll bring up the latest image before we move on to the total electron content. There is the latest image. That's 12 o'clock Universal Time ionogram and 12 o'clock Universal Time anomalygram. You see those major low-frequency anomalies there in the Indian Ocean, Southern Ocean, and Southern Atlantic. Also the Central Atlantic. Total electron content depicts free electrons from your ground level handset all the way up to about 12,500 miles of altitude. The inner portion of the outer Van Allen belt, where your GPS satellite is located. Here's a total electron content on a worldwide basis. That'll show you the most likely places to see errors in your GPS. If you are experiencing GPS errors and there are Wi-Fi location hotspots around where you are navigating, turn on your Wi-Fi location accuracy, as IP addresses have static known locations, and that can be used to help increase your navigational accuracy. Here's a total electron content 10-day anomaly. That's anomaly from the 10-day average for North American total electron content. And this does show some low electron counts in the Eastern Pacific. Some high electron counts there around the Caribbean. And let's close out the space weather section of the video with the latest magnetogram and latest SDO intensitygram. So we're going to look at this new sunspot here, as it is quite magnetically complex. It's already produced an M-class flare while we did the show. And here is your rock back. That is a beta gamma delta class sunspot, which means the likelihood of it continuing to produce large flares is certainly at like 90%. Anyway, here's a full disk rockback, SDO intensitygram, and colorized magnetogram. We're going to get to meteorology here. But first, take a moment to visit the links below the video. You can find them on the homepage also at smashomash.com. Below the video, you'll find a link to the Amazon shop. And don't buy your spices in tiny little cans in the grocery store. Buy them in 5-pound bulk bags like this Anthony's Organic Cocoa Powder. I drank some this morning. Did you know that cocoa will increase your nitric oxide levels, which will effectively increase your amount of blood oxygen? Yeah, it's a performance-enhancing substance, in other words. And if you want more pics about things that I take, I became a pro mountain bike racer in 1999, by the way. Hit up the links. That's the Spices for the Win link. You can also find some cycling gear there. Also the spacewear, if you like my radiation reflecting hat, you can find that as well. Let's move to meteorology now. What we're looking at here are the largest waves in the world. So the animation there is winds, and the color shading is wave height. And the largest waves in the world here are between New Zealand and Australia, 32 footers. In other words, the planet is featuring pretty calm seas here at the moment. No place featuring 40-foot waves. The world's largest, just to the northwest of New Zealand. Anyway, let's get to our normally scheduled meteorology segment. Here are the surface winds of the eastern world. Like sands through the hourglass of time, these are the jet streams of your lives. By the way, if you know anybody who needs voiceover work done, send them my way. I've always wanted to play a cartoon villain, or perhaps a horror movie villain. Anyway, there are the jet streams of the west. Pretty incoherent jet streams here over the U.S. at the moment. Cold air blasting down into the eastern U.S. We'll talk about that momentarily. Surface winds depicted here. A strong onshore wind there showing up at the Carolinas. Here are the surface winds of the central world. Hopefully the riders in the Giro d'Italia will have a better day and experience 0 crashes today. Hopefully as they get tired and do some mountaintop finishes, people will stop riding like sociopaths. So those are the surface winds here, the jet streams of the central world. Yes, Covidiocy has struck the Giro d'Italia as riders are being pulled out as C-19 is sweeping through the peloton. All right, now we're going to show you clouds and fog here. Just bear with me for a minute. We bring these up as we make the video to get the latest possible data for you. So that's one of the many features of the Smash News Network Least Busted Name in News: facts. This is 3.9 micrometer radiation, part of the infrared spectrum, which depicts clouds and fog when it's too dark to use a visible satellite. That's what's going on. Equatorial cloud bands there. Great satellite imagery there from the NASA GOES Interactive Weather Satellite Suite. Next, our weather.gov map, and we've got freeze warnings over large portions of the Northeast. We'll scroll down to show you the key. However, if your location is lit, click your location. Those air quality alerts are, I believe, a result of the massive wildfire in Alberta. Weather.gov is the location for that. And I have no idea what I've clicked on here, but I definitely did not click on that. Here come some forecasts. This is your temperature anomaly forecast in degrees Celsius. And that's pretty berserk. Most of the eastern portion of the country here experiencing unseasonably low temperatures, while the northwestern portion of the country seeing unseasonably high temperatures. That's your 72-hour GFS temperature anomaly forecast in degrees Celsius. We'll also show pressure and precipitation based on the same model, the GFS 72-hour, as more strong storms are coming to the south-central part of the U.S. We've also got your lightning mapper. That's what's going on for the past about 10 hours. Some lightning in the central part of the U.S. mainly. And let's see if we have any terrestrial strikes currently going on. What do we got? Little thunder shower here near the Idaho-Canada border. Near the Salmo Priest Wilderness. That sounds interesting. Not sure if that's a Druid community. Let us know in the comments if you know what that is. Anyway, that's the current lightning situation. Next time you hear thunder, highly recommend you check out lightningmaps.org. It could save your you-know-what. And here's our temperature map. We brought up a temperature map here on witty.com because, hey, it's cold. I mean, at about 6:30, it was like 40 degrees, maybe 41 here in Lehigh Valley, Pennsylvania. That's pretty chilly for May 18th. By the way, if you enjoy the content, don't just press like, subscribe, share, comment. Become a member of the Smash Team if you'd like additional content. Smashomash.com/Smash Team. In 2019, a crack YouTube unit was sent to social media prison for a crime we didn't commit. We promptly escaped the maximum security social media stockade of the internet underground, where we survive as producers of fortune. If you have a problem, if no one else can help, and if you can find the content, maybe you can hire the Smash Team. No, you definitely can, because you can just visit the homepage. Smashomash.com has all those links, including links to the Hemp Lucid shop, which we brought up earlier. So visit those and help out the channel. Increase the probability these videos will remain existent, publicly visible, and free for all to view. Last but not least, we're going to close out with the U.S. Doppler radar, clouds and fog over the U.S., and water vapor. I just want to once again bring up the most recent imagery here for you, as this is considered a value-added service. Did you know that we used to separate all of our videos into separate sections? And do you know what that did? It led to less views on YouTube. So if you know anything about YouTube channels YouTube channel success is based on views, basically. And so views are what matter. Anyway, here's your U.S. Doppler radar map. Once again, thanks to our new subscribers. We're going to focus on the lower 48. That's what's going on at the moment. Here is clouds and fog. And there is the water vapor map. Looks like clear skies over Tennessee. Also clear skies coming to Mississippi and Alabama today, as we see a high pressure zone there, right? You see that? That's an anticyclonic system, although there's a lot of impulse coming here. And of course, you've got this cold air blowing down from Canada, creating a wake as it's pulling this air with it. Anyway, thanks for tuning in to the Daily Space Weather. Congratulations on realizing the Smash News Network least busted name in news exists. Look for another live stream coming today as we monitor the ongoing likelihood of solar flares. In the meantime, may that solar wind be at your back. And bye-bye.